So the magic hour has struck, 7 p.m. Welcome to everyone. We'll officially call the December 12, 2018 work session agenda to order. We'll officially let the record show that Mr. Moore is absent, traveling for business, and will not be here this evening. And before I get into minutes, monthly reports, and what have you, I'm just going to, anyone that might be here this evening, anyone that might be here for item B under action items, which is review website proposals, that has been withdrawn. That will be added to the January 9th Town Board work session agenda. So that's item B, review of the website proposals. That is withdrawn. We'll go back to approval of the minutes. We have the November 28th, 2018 minutes before us, and we'll entertain a motion of approval for those minutes.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on those minutes? Seeing none. Those in favor, aye. Opposed? Okay, that carries. Lisa, thank you as always for the minutes and doing such a great job on those. We'll move to monthly reports. All of the monthly reports have been received with the exception of personnel, and I understand that that will be in hand tomorrow, so it'll meet our deadline. So thank you to all the department heads for getting all that material in before us. This evening we have no public hearings and we have no guests scheduled. So we'll move right into our action items, and we'll start with item A, review bids for cleaning services. Mr. Tate. So all the paperwork is coming around. I think the board remembers that we went out for quotes for cleaning of the town hall and community center. Wow. And so we opened those bids here a number of weeks ago. Mr. Tate and Mr. Kreckman and team went through, and so Mr. Tate, if you'd like to give us an overview.
Sure, thank you. So as Tony kind of led into this, we did do a bid for cleaning services for both town hall and the library and the community center. In the past, we've been doing just town hall and been doing the library and the community center with our own staff, but just due to the hours, it's getting difficult, and with some of the staff members leaving, felt it would be better to have it done, go out for bid, have both facilities done by the same company. As you can see on the sheet, Clark Building Services, the owner is Cynthia Clark. She's actually the one who's been doing town hall already. She's been doing a great job. I haven't heard any issues, concerns, complaints from anyone. I guess as far as I have heard, everyone's been happy with it. She's been doing a great job, and she actually came in as the low bidder.
For the community center too.
Yeah, the number both on there is total cost for both town hall and for, no, currently she's only doing town hall. So we did a...
So she has been doing the town hall for the last couple of years. We went out to bid because the contract was up, plus we wanted to add the community center, so we do both facilities. So we went out to bid. These are the three that bid. So when we award the contract, not only will she do this building, but she'll do the library portion of the community center.
Which is currently being done by?
Well, a little piece of it
done by our facilities
guys
during the day when they.
And then if you recall, the library had a person on staff who has retired, and so in talking with Bunny, rather than paying for labor benefits to have it under contract and go out for contract, we believe that was the right thing to do. Bunny and her board agreed that that was the right thing to do, so that's why we got to where we got to. And then Eric, remind us, is this a multi-year bid?
So it's a 1-year contract with the option to extend 2 additional terms.
Very good.
So potentially 3 years.
It's quite a difference between
It is.
Yeah, it's just,
her
actually,
and everyone
I was
else.
just calculating the difference or the delta between
Yeah.
her, the low bid and the next to low bid of almost $35,000. And then the high bid was 53,000, almost 54,000 difference. And I think it's, I think it's a no-brainer that she's proven herself already to us, her company, and
Part of it, she
Yeah,
does.
So it's important for this next piece of information.
Yep, so part of the price discrepancy is the fact that she's an owner-operator business, so she does not have to pay herself prevailing wage, whereas the other two businesses do have to pay their employees prevailing wage.
Right.
She's certainly welcome to if she wants, but she is not required to
By law.
per Department of Labor.
Right.
So she's able to do it at a lower price because of that. The other side of it is we provide her with all the equipment, the materials, vacuums, floor scrubbers. We have all of that equipment already, where the other companies typically want to bring in and use their own equipment. So even though our bid says we're providing it, they still want to use their own because that's what their employees know how to use, what they're comfortable and used to doing. So they end up putting that price in, saying, thanks for offering yours, but we're going to do our own anyway. So that weighs into it.
All right.
Okay. So, board comfortable
I'm
with
comfortable
moving forward with...
Making a motion for Clark Building Services?
Second.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? And so this will be authorizing Eric to prepare a resolution for next Wednesday evening, authorizing a contract with, subject to review and approval by the town attorney. All right, see no further discussion. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, great.
Thank you.
Very good. Eric, thank you. You're welcome to stay and join us for the rest of the meeting. Also know that you might be called in a little early for some salting and what have you. So that, we'll move on. Item B, again, has been withdrawn. That's the review website proposals. We'll move on to C, Falone. This is a site plan review at 2146 Fairport 9 Mile Point Road. Mr. Costello, we have a couple of items to discuss. The first one, the board did not receive the materials that you sent as it was 2x the size to go out through our system. And
You did not get it?
I got it.
Did you?
Because
Yes,
internally...
I sent it out this morning to all of you. You got it.
I got it.
The rest of you didn't. And then Zach Nersinger reformatted for you and then sent everything back out again. You didn't get it.
Well, he didn't send it. And if he did, he didn't
You
send it
wouldn't
to
have
me.
gotten it.
Okay.
You wouldn't have gotten it because we knew you got yours.
Got it.
Internally.
This is it.
All right.
The others should have gotten it.
So Zach gets the coal in the stocking.
Well,
my last thing from Zach was
I
yesterday.
was, you know, I was able
5:04
to
p.m.
convert it.
Yes, we didn't
Yeah.
have anything
Did you
from
get it?
Zach. No,
Yeah, it was
We
yesterday.
did not.
yesterday.
No, some of us
The last email from
was-
Zach was yesterday.
Which was with regards to Shadow Pines.
Yeah.
So,
We have several things to talk about, which may or may not get you to where you need to be at this point in time. But to give you an idea of what's occurred, your last
so, yeah,
work session.
thank you.
Your last work session, you were concerned about the size of the rear building in particular. Dr. Falone offered to reduce that to meet the 10-foot setback requirements for that site. We brought the building down to 4,500 square feet. John Shields is here this evening as well. John did revise the plan to reflect 4,500 square foot modification. He also revised the plan to reflect your concern about the internal access road, being able to get out. That is also there. And actually, I have other plans here that
Around
reflect
in the
that, if
parking
you want
lot,
to
you
see it in more detail.
You mean the parking lot?
Yes, that area over
All right.
here where you can, John, if you want to get,
I
just
was
kind
going
of
to say,
point to where it is.
thank you, John. And you have John's information, Lisa, for the
Yes,
record.
I
Thank you very much. Thank you.
John Shields with Hunt Engineers. Yeah, what Jim's referring to is the idea that previously we had two kind of dead-end parking bays. They were accessed from this direction. What we did is we took 4 of those parking spaces out so that we have even if all of the spaces are filled with vehicles, we still have a way to get out of one bay, go across and get down the other one to leave the property. And then we also talked, I think, about the idea that if this was ever, if cross-access ever became reality,
For the next property over.
possibly put some spaces back there, no longer needing that internal connection.
Yeah. I think that makes sense.
Okay. And then the one building went from 5,000, excuse me, went from the 5,000 to 4,500.
It did, yes, sir. We kept the same depth of the building. We took it from 100 feet wide to a 90-foot wide building,
Okay.
and kept it pretty well centered on the property, so there's just over 10 feet, 10.4 and almost 11 feet of setback on the other side,
Very good. Very
exceeding
good.
that 10 foot on both sides.
Yeah, excellent. And then, one of the other things that we had talked about was the landscaping, and I think Dr. Falone had indicated that he was going to go back and have some conversations about that, because there was I think a little bit of a grading issue to kind of blend that in, and then talking about some landscaping. So anything new on that aspect of it?
Sure, yeah. First of all, with respect to grading, I was able to bring I regraded this area of the parking a little bit. I was able to bring the building a foot lower than what we had it before, what that does, that helps to reduce the grading and the
Right.
clearing that we need to do in the back in order to make those grades meet.
Okay.
Mr. Zaretsky, the town's
Bruce
landscape
Zaretsky,
consultant, met with Jim, right?
He did,
Costello?
yeah.
You guys were both there at the property, so you could probably speak more about the meeting specifically.
I would be happy to do that.
Jim put together a memo on it that I received and made some site plan changes as a result of that memo, added some landscaping along with a note that when the time came to prior to installing the landscaping, we would consult with with Mr. Zaretsky, have him come out on site and help us place the trees that are going to provide the best screening for the neighbors.
Great,
That
excellent.
looks different too.
This is the dumpster area here.
see that.
And then we created it. But to get back to Tony's comment, yes, I met with Bruce. Bruce went out, looked at the site. He did make a recommendation. He looked at the trees over here, as a matter of fact. There are 3 dead trees right now that PhD Ventures is going to take care of in the spring. But they did have some problems with, evidently they didn't get enough irrigation to them from whatever reason, but they didn't make it. So Bruce's comment was, you can continue on with the pine trees if you'd like. He was looking at more of a arborvitae type situation, which he provided a detail for. He also looked at the use of forsythia, which kind of blooms up. If you don't cut it back, it'll bloom up as big as you want it to be. He's showing that as part of it. There was a third one. I don't have it on the plan here, but there is a third component to that. And still, I'm thinking in terms of your needs, in terms of buffering, and I know you're sensitive to it for these neighbors. We may even just hold a letter of credit to ensure that there's enough in there to take care of what has to be done. He may have to add 1 or 2 here more, or maybe what he's got is fine, but it's a good point that John makes. We'd have to go out with Bruce and make sure that it's what it's supposed to be. But I think all the components for what Bruce had asked for are on the plan, so. And then the grading issue, well, the only outstanding issue left from our perspective of a technical nature is the fact that there is water still being drained to the trout site. I don't know if you were able to talk to Trout or not. I know you're all set with Malco, but have you talked to Trout at all about water being discharged to his
Yeah,
property?
well, we're gonna do that with the grading plan. Remember,
The water, just so you understand, the water does and always has gone that way.
Right.
It's just that
Close to
right
the
now,
north.
he's showing a pipe that's directly discharging to the pond that's going to be there.
well, we're not doing that anymore.
Yeah, I can change, so I was talking to my client, I can revise the utility plan so that keeps that storm sewer entirely on our property, including the outlet to that storm
So you
sewer.
would indirectly discharge it to the...
Yeah, our main thing is so that it doesn't go to the neighbors. So when we
Oh,
do that
that's right,
landscape-
that's imperative, but more importantly, to get it to that pond, and making sure that that pond can accept it and you know,
Yeah, so when we do
Take
the
care of it
landscaping,
long-term.
we're gonna grade that whole area so that we kind of raise it up in the back so that the neighbors don't get any of the water.
So the neighbors to the east,
Will be
do not,
protected.
they're buffered from that with the drainage. And then the drainage itself, I think, John, you were saying that everything, you're bringing it to the north property line, to your north to your north property line, and then kind of dead-ending it there? Is that what I don't want to put words in your mouth, that's what I thought I heard.
Well, the drainage goes through a stormwater management system on site.
Yep.
It's an infiltration system.
Yes.
That's what you might be referring to. So the trout pond would be, is kind of an outfall for us. It's not really a treatment measure. We're not counting on it to be a treatment measure. And by installing the on-site stormwater management, smaller storms won't even leave the site. More typical, more frequent storms. Larger storms will still be reduced to pre-development levels, and will leave the site, and they'll get into the trout pond.
And then they'll ultimately go north
That's
to
right,
the
yes,
trout
sir.
pond.
And that was the issue. It wasn't so much they were putting the water towards trout, because that's where it's always gone.
Right.
It was the fact that they were proposing to direct discharge it over the property through a pipe to that property
Got
without
it.
any permission, so.
Got it.
Right, and we're gonna take that piece out, Jimmy. Bob and I were talking that,
And that was actually one of the recommendations of one of our engineers in the town staff here. to
yeah, we'll
possibly
discharge it
do
on our
that,
site.
Taking it over.
Okay, all right. Let's see.
And then the rear lights.
They had the lighting scheme as well.
Yeah, right.
I'll get this to you first. But they also, I don't know if they showed it on this, but they have a lighting scheme which identifies lighting basically staying on their property. It does go over a little bit, but the parking lot lighting into the trial property. I'm anticipating at some point in time, this will be a parking area in any event anyways, but it does pretty much stay on their property, except over here when it goes to Mo's.
Yeah, so relative to lighting, there is currently a light shown along the rear of the building that was intended as a, right over top of an egress door. What we're going to do is, instead of place the door on the rear, we're going to place a door on either, perhaps both sides of the building.
Over here.
talking the east
You're talking the back
I'm
building?
talking the
Yeah.
office, that's
Okay.
right,
Okay.
that's right.
Very good.
And therefore, there's no need, and we will eliminate the light from the rear of the building. There'll be no building mounted
Very good.
lighting on the rear of the building.
It's a great idea.
And John, and you think you'll have sufficient lighting kind of on your north and south side to give you safe, walkway access if they have to use that? I'm assuming they're going to use it for emergency purposes, typically emergency purposes only.
Absolutely. Yes.
But you'll have enough with your lights that you got further to the west.
We may do a building mounted light
Okay,
on either
on either end.
on either end of the building.
Okay,
We can maybe try to keep that door more towards the front of the building. But whatever light is on that building would be compliant with the town code. I think it's dark sky.
Dark sky,
compliant and Night-friendly compliant.
right, okay.
Yeah, we're working with Light Spec. They're very familiar with, excuse me, what the town wants to see, and
Okay,
work with them to get something on there that works.
okay.
The other issue the board talked about at the last meeting was the issue of the number of employees that the organization would have that would be taking over the building. Did we get a feel for that at any given time? I'm thinking if there were 4, or whatever it may be. What I'm getting to is the fact that you do have some remote parking here away from the building, and you might want to dedicate that to employee parking, so the people that are coming to the site can get immediately to the door, and then have the employees park back here where it's not going to be eating up a lot of the parking by the front door. Yeah.
That will be
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, that's
The
just a
landlord thing.
managerial
Yeah.
issue, but it would just make good sense to allow the public to get access to the place as quickly as possible.
Okay.
Do you want to chat about?
I did. The only other question I have, Jim, can you just remind me, as the property's been developed from sort of the Jeremiah's, Doodlebugs north, can you just remind me of the incentives?
Yes, I'd be happy
Moving
to.
north, and then sort of what the incentives are for this parcel?
So the incentives, again, as we talked at the last meeting, were everybody who is going to develop the front portions of the property for something other than office space or permitted activity within the BNR district would be responsible for paying the incentive. Everybody in the back still had to maintain a BNR requirement. There was no incentive granted for anybody in the back. They all maintained the zoning. So everybody who came out front had to pay $317.68 per linear foot of the front of their property, which went back into public works improvements for that area. In this case, this property was not part of the original proposal, but I think you've been trying to be as consistent as possible from project to project. So we were to take that 317.68. We are looking at unlike the others who are just building basically parking lots to accommodate their businesses, he's building his parking lot, but he's also the one that is really required to install the off-site driveway that goes to the trial property that ties into the existing road. And I did go out and look at that road after you brought that up. That road is in bad shape, and we do need to get that resolved. So we are going to have to take a look at that 317.68 as it relates to the frontage of his property, superimpose it over to what it's going to cost to do this, which I suspect is going to be quite a bit more for this than it would be for that. And then he would then go ahead and install that as part of his incentive. The other fee that's associated with this, as you well know, is everybody in this area is required to pay the LUAM fee. And the LUAM fee was basically to provide for additional improvements for access throughout the area. We will look at that cost based on the ITE engineering status for what this building would cause and what this would cause traffic-wise. And then look at that and see how it plays into the incentive. If there's an overcost for this versus what the incentive would have been, then we would apply some of that money to this to offset that as well. And then whatever's left over, he would have to pay that LUAM fee. And that's what we've been doing with all the
And I was going to say, I think that gets back to where I think Rob was heading, which is that been consistent starting from, Jeremiah's
Yes.
and working its way
And there is one last parcel that you're aware of, that's the one that's just immediately south of Jeremiah's, now it's owned by Lynn Parrish. I don't know what the status of that is in terms of coming to you, but I suspect it will happen at some point in time in the near future. That would be the last piece of the incentive for this whole project.
And if I recall correctly, that's approximately 100...
It's a small parcel.
Small parcel.
Right. It's kind of like this one, actually. It's just, yes, it's deep, it's long, but
it's only about 100 feet.
That's right. It was
roughly.
a single-family residence at
Right.
one time, and
Okay, so...
that's what's left of it.
All
It's
right.
kind of interesting, though. I did some calculations the other day. The original, I think we talked about this in the last meeting, but the original concept, not the approved plans, but the original concept plan called for 63,000 square feet of area on the project south of this one, and in the end, 38,000 was constructed. So it was almost,
We've talked about that as we,
yeah, it was quite a bit less than what was originally proposed for the site. So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, board, questions, comments, additional information? Anything additional that you might need or want that we haven't already seen?
I'm satisfied.
I am too.
We've had Dr. Flown tweak this quite a bit, but I think it's going to end up being a better project as a result, and much more, a better flow constructively through there.
Looking forward to seeing that road too.
I have no further concerns. I appreciate all the efforts you put into it.
Yeah, I'd move for a resolution to approve this with all the things that we've mentioned.
And again,
At
the
this
engineers
meeting.
will have to work with John to get to where they need to be to ensure that everything's done properly. and
Yep, absolutely.
Drainage is done properly.
I'll second.
Okay. Moved and seconded. Any last-minute comments, discussion, requests for the board? Any last-minute discussion that should be added or comments added to the record from staff that we haven't already talked about?
Just the fact that we'll have to meet on site when the landscaping aspect of it goes into play, which is always near the end of the project, but we'll have to go on site and make sure everything works properly and is adequately buffering the neighbors from the project.
Okay.
And them from the neighbors, actually.
And then to the engineer, John, and Dr. Falone, any additional items that you believe should be added to the record that haven't already been discussed, from public hearing to the multiple work sessions that we've had?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So moved and seconded. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution will be on the agenda for next week, the 19th, is the approval resolution will be before the board.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Jim. Yep.
We will move on to item D as in, thank you. D as in David. This is home automation installation sales and service office at 2025 Penfield Road. Mr. Costello.
Thank you, Tony. We had our public hearing last week regarding the home automation office at the 2025 Penfield Road. I think the applicant did a good job of identifying what is transpiring at the location. I've gone over and looked at the site, and he is factually correct. After about 9:15 or 9:20, there was nobody on the site to speak of. And they are
AM.
out in the field.
Yeah, I was going to say, just
AM?
clarify that.
AM, yes. and
Yeah,
they're-
yeah, thank you.
Yes, and he said that they were open till 8 PM, but I haven't seen anybody over that late.
Probably just get
By
the
appointment or something.
Yeah, so I think everything he's told us is right on target. With your permission, I will prepare a resolution for
Low income.
Fills the rest of the space, less than 1,000 square feet.
That's right, 928
you
square
know,
feet.
So,
I move that, make a motion that the resolution be drafted for presentation next week.
okay.
I'll second.
Moved, seconded, and so the items, the normal items, Kaz, and including the signage, that's
Yes.
the key part of that, so that the sign fits in what's there.
You
and
will have to
doesn't-
approve that.
And we'll have to
That's
approve.
right. And I've
that'll
already
be-
talked to Mr. Sevegas about requirements for the signage.
Yep,
He's
so,
on top of that as well.
okay,
so.
very good. All right, any other input, questions? All right, so it's been moved and seconded. Those in favor, aye. Opposed? That item carries. That brings us down to informational items. No informational items, and no further business to come before the town board in this work session at December 12th, 2018. This will be the last work session for 2018. So we'll resume on the 9th of January. So thank you to staff for a great 2018. And this meeting will officially stand adjourned at 7:26 PM. Thank you to Penfield TV. Thank you to everyone that participated this evening.